episode of the Backstory on Marketing and AI. And if you haven't already done so, please visit prorelevant.com and sign up for more of these episodes and podcasts. As you know, I am the author of the upcoming book, The AI Marketing Machine, and you can find out more information about that at marketingmachine.prorelevant.com. Today, I'm interviewing Sam Kendry, and he is the co-founder and president of WealthFeed, which is an innovative AI-driven prospecting platform for financial advisors. And prior to WealthFeed, he co-founded Catalyze AI, which is the lead generation platform for the real estate industry. So Kendry also earlier served as a financial advisor and West Coast general manager at Chicago Partners Wealth Advisors, and he holds a mechanical engineering degree from Gonzaga University. Sam, welcome. It's so good to have you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Guy. You made me sound a lot more professional and successful than I am, but thank you for that great intro.
Oh, I'm sure you're wildly successful. You know, it's funny. My wife is a financial advisor, and so she could use your stuff, that's for sure. Although she's kind of, doing a lot of real estate now, so she's not really doing much new client acquisition. But sounds like what you're doing is pretty cool.
For sure. Well, your wife sounds like a jack of all trades, so I'm sure she has a lot of skills that could be useful. But yeah, it's a great industry, the financial advising industry that I'm sure your wife loves, and a bit some similarities of the real estate industry, but also a bit different, and each of them kind of had their nuances. But very cool that she gets to have her hands in kind of both pots there in both places.
Yeah, absolutely. So tell us your backstory. How did you get involved in AI and marketing?
Yeah, of course. So, like you mentioned in the intro, I was a financial advisor in Chicago, and we did M&A. So I kind of led our efforts on the West Coast side of things, and actually moved me out to Hawaii, funny enough, for about 2 years doing some M&A. And every firm that we acquired, kind of the first question they would ask us is, hey, Guy, hey, Sam, how are you guys going to help me grow my book of business? For this deal to pencil on both sides, I need to be able to grow my book. And back in the day, this was 2018, 2019, we really didn't have any good answers. And we were a really big investment firm in Chicago. And we said, hey, we've tried Smart Asset. We're on the Schwab Advisor Network. We'll try to get some things going. And that kind of turned a light bulb on in my head, and my co-founders who were at JP Morgan, that said, hey, there's a huge need for a growth platform for financial advisors, helping them identify their current, ideal prospects, and then helping automate high converting outreach to them. So we started that in about 2021, 2022. And then, like you said, the whole AI revolution came and hit us pretty hard and allowed us to really accelerate our business and our platform, and helped accelerate the ROI that our advisors see as well. So it's been a pretty unique ride so far, but it's been great.
Yeah. Yeah, fantastic. But how did you then go from mechanical engineering at Gonzaga to financial advising?
Yeah, that one was a pretty easy decision. If you've ever talked to anyone that's taken a mechanical engineering course in college, it's probably the most boring classes out there. But my mom was actually an engineer, mechanical engineer at Boeing for about 30 years. And so growing up in high school, she was just kind of in my ear the entire time saying, hey, you're good at math, you're good at science, you should do engineering. And it took me about 2 years to realize that the stock market and the investment world is a heck of a lot more interesting than thermodynamics and heat transfer. So it was a pretty easy transition. All of my internships were on the finance side, financial services side, and then was lucky enough to find a great firm in Chicago called Chicago Partners, and moved out there. And then the rest kind of, happened the way it did, which was great. But very was very happy with my decision to step out of engineering. It's a great industry and great profession, but I don't think it was for me
Well,
necessarily.
fantastic. Well, I'm looking for you to be one of the top 40 entrepreneurs under 40. So it sounds like you've got a good chance there.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I wouldn't hold your breath, but I guess you never know.
You never know. You know, it's funny. It just takes one little thing, and all of a sudden, you're a unicorn and you're way up there, and so fantastic. So one of the challenges, though, with AI, especially and marketing, is who holds the responsibility for it, and how do get make sure that there's good governance and you're following the rules, so to speak, and in financial services, certainly it's also about compliance and then just generally always with marketing there's branding. So who takes responsibility for AI generated marketing and branding?
Yeah, it's a great question. And like you said, the financial advising industry is so heavily regulated that it's very interesting to see all the dynamics that go into, approvals and all that. I would say from a responsibility standpoint, we kind of share that, us being the tech platform and the vendor, we share that with the firms that we work with. So from our perspective, there's something called SOC 2 Type 2, which is a very, I'd say, high gold standard of data security. And that is kind of table stakes for platforms like WealthFeed and all of our peers. So from a data security and data privacy standpoint, we need to be buttoned up as much as we can. And to your point, it's very interesting because AI and the benefit of AI, you need data, right? You need good data. So where we share that responsibility with these large financial institutions is that they have to trust us with us holding and managing their data to then be able to run AI models on that and have them kind of reap the benefits of that. But they have to be very particular in how that data is transferred to us, what data fields they're allowed to give us versus not. So I'd say at the end of the day, Guy, for the advisors and the firms to really maximize the benefit of AI, it's kind of a joint venture and a joint partnership that we have with them.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense because as I mentioned, my wife is a financial planner, and compliance is like a four-letter word in our house, and she's got to
Oh
go
yeah,
through that audits and all kinds of stuff. It's really tough, but it's also, I guess, about integrity and and you as an individual investor, when you're talking to your financial advisor, I mean they see your wealth, they see everything, and you're expecting really strong integrity from them. And so how does the company value integrity, especially now in the midst of AI?
100%. Yeah, I mean that's kind of priority number one, right? Is integrity and again really kind of holding true to the partnership and the agreements that the financial firms have with their clients. And it's as your wife knows, guys, it's kind of the biggest, selling a home, kind of relating it to real estate. It's a big deal, right? It's a big lump sum, but at the end of the day, it's transactional. Whereas financial advising is more of a lifelong partnership where the individual is trusting you with their entire life savings. So it's a very kind of unique relationship that people have with their financial advisors. But at the end of the day, if the AI revolution that we're going through is beneficial to the end client and end consumer, then the advisors have a fiduciary responsibility to be able to provide that. So it's kind of this full circle thing where you need trust from all sides, you need integrity from all sides, and people are a little bit weary of AI, and sometimes rightfully so. But at the end of the day, if it's beneficial to their financial outcome, again, it's a fiduciary responsibility that the advisors are going to have to start to provide to them.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and the integrity gets also into ethics and making sure that you're providing ethical decision making. And I will admit, you think about and I like and I can't remember the name of the big advisor, and and the ethics surrounding them, and we are we have a fiduciary responsibility, and we're supposed to be ethical, and we don't try and churn and burn, as my wife would call it. We make money if you make money. And and so I can see there's a lot of ethics and how the AI and what you're doing gets reflected in that ethical decision making.
For sure. Yeah. Yeah. I think Fisher Investments sounds like the commercial that you're
Yeah,
rehearsing,
that's the
but
one, Fisher. Yep.
yeah. But no, 100%. And it's one of those things Where we're helping advisors, guys, on the money in motion detection, right? So what they're able to do is they're able to say, hey Sam, hey WealthFeed, I have a client list of, you know, 10,000 individuals, right? And I want you to monitor them for any money in motion that takes place and notify me so I can proactively help them with that scenario. So we're picking up on job changes, on promotions, on moves, and really allowing the advisors to have that insight and then being able to go to the client and provide them a solution without having the client need to reach out to them about that. So it's trying to create this kind of proactive financial advice. On an ongoing basis rather than the advisor having to be reactive. And at the end of the day, that only benefits, the end consumer. So that's how
Yeah.
we're tying in all kind of the AI and integrity and all that good stuff.
Well, and that makes sense because integrity and ethics, especially in financial advising, financial planning, are critical because, like you said, it is your money, and you have a lifetime relationship with this financial advisor. And then using AI, which some people, even today, especially the older generations, they kind of see AI as maybe not totally ethical. I don't know if it's ethical, but they kind of say, well, I just don't trust that AI. And no, that's not ethics, but that's kind of trust or confidence or whatever. How do you see that in for financial advisors?
Yeah, so I think at the end of the day, where AI is able to, where they're providing all their value is they're able to pull tons and tons of data from the internet and historic events and all that. But it's funny because if you look at it, the highest source of data that's feeding AI right now is Reddit, which is kind of funny. So Reddit is, a talk uh, board where people can go on and say, hey, has anyone used this product or has anyone invested in Amazon and why did he do so, sort of things. So it's really interesting where all of that, the data is actually coming into play. And I think that's kind of the end. Same thing with the financial advisors is they're saying, hey, how can we trust what you're telling us on the AI side? And what we tell them is it's, if you have good data in, you're going to have good AI out. If you have, junk in, you're going to have garbage out, sort of thing. So at the end of the day, it does kind of come down to the data sourcing and how clean the data is, how accurate the data is, and then I think there's more trust that's built around that. But at the same time, I don't blame folks like you mentioned who are um, a bit curious and questioning the validity of AI if it's pulling, the main source is pulling from Reddit, which is kind of a bit counterintuitive, I guess. But um,
Yeah.
it's
Well, but it does
interesting,
have, yeah, it really is. But it is kind of interesting that you have Reddit, and Reddit is, I don't know. You don't necessarily see that as being a fact-based, data-based kind of an application and
right?
data source. So I guess maybe it's pulling in from there a lot of the personal comments, like you mentioned about Amazon or whatever. But and the other one too is it pulls a lot of data from Wikipedia,
Right.
and Wikipedia is can be true, can be false. Especially if you get into some of these controversial areas
Yep.
where there's these wiki wars going on, and so then I don't know how it handles that, but it's just fascinating to see what the different sources are. So I guess the big, $1 million question is so have you designed an AI based portfolio to get better than average market returns?
Yeah, right. And that's funny because that is, I think, one of the biggest, hopefully, benefits that the consumer gets with AI is just more. And the cool part too about AI guy is that it's so proactive that, when a financial advisor is reviewing your portfolio, for example, they might be reviewing your portfolio on a quarterly basis, maybe monthly, probably not, mostly quarterly, maybe semi-annually. But the benefit of AI is it can do it every second of every day on an ongoing basis and be able to give recommendations based off of market landscape that's changing. So I think that's probably one of the most powerful things that we'll eventually see in the investment space is AI being able to provide advisors the opportunity to give better investment recommendations extremely proactive and not reactive. And again, that'll be a benefit of of the consumer. But it's also one of those things where if it's like active investing versus passive investing. There were so many active investors back in the day, and they were able to provide alpha. And then there was a shift to passive, and it almost works up into a certain point, and then it starts to tilt the other way. So it's like with AI, it'll provide, probably be able to provide some alpha and better returns, but only to a certain point until most folks are doing that. And then it might,
Yeah.
fall back on something else being more beneficial because there's too many people on one side of the table. So it's kind of an interesting, we'll see how it plays out, but kind of
Yeah,
interesting
yeah.
concept.
It's funny when you were talking, I was thinking of that. I think the movie was called Limitless, where this this stockbroker or whatever, he was going off and he was able to get these extraordinary returns. And he said, well, I was taking this limitless drug to, make me super intelligent. And then he says, well, at first I was just looking at, the standard kind of tabloids or whatever. And then I was going to the rumor mill. And that's kind of like going to Reddit.
Exactly.
So,
Yeah, exactly.
so maybe it is right. Maybe I'm going to have to design my Reddit portfolio and then see, of all the different portfolios, which one actually does best, and then hit on that. So I went to University of Chicago and got my MBA there. And one of the things, of course, was there's always I can't remember the term, but a fair return. And if you are able to get a better return, then other people are going to copy you, and then all the returns go back down to, whatever that fair return is based on risk
Yeah,
and whatever. And so if I am able to today get a better return using some AI algorithm or some, kind of fancy thing, somebody else is going to figure it out, and then my returns and their returns will start to go down and settle back down to the average, so to speak.
for sure. Yeah. So the Gene Fama way of thinking and all
Yeah,
that,
yeah,
University of
yeah, yeah.
Chicago. But yeah, I mean, it's so true. And we've seen that with active versus passive. And now we'll probably see that, with AI driven, portfolio recommendations. Like you said, it can only work up into a certain point, and then it's better
Yep.
to be on the other side of the equation. So it's gonna be really, really interesting to see how that plays out.
Yeah, 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 exactly. Well, and I think there'll be waves, so as you develop one algorithm, you'll do really well and then that'll go away, and then you'll
Yeah.
develop another one and then that'll go away or whatever. I guess the big thing is though, is just as long as you don't lose your shirt on something, when the market does a big tumble or something like that.
Right, right. Well, with the whole GameStop thing back in 2020,
Yeah,
2021, right? So
right, right.
if AI was very, prevalent back then, and like you said, you're on the Reddit boards, that probably would have been stock pick number one, off the Reddit boards is, hey, get into GameStop. But again, only up until a certain point, and then you would have been buying, taking the AI's recommendation, buying it at the top. And of course, it took a bit of a tumble and kind of came back down to
Yeah,
earth a little bit. So you could have been on the wrong side of that, but AI could have
yep,
still been recommending it because of all the Reddit threads, mentioning the stock.
yeah,
So yeah,
yeah.
super,
Well,
super interesting.
fantastic. Yeah, it really is. And I didn't mean to get off on, it's so funny too when people talk about the market, they mean the stock market as opposed to marketing, where you're
Right.
talking about, something else. So, but anyway, didn't mean to get off on the market. I wanted to stay with AI and marketing. But one last question, as much as I'd like to keep going, this is a fascinating topic. And, with my wife being a financial planner, it's always really interesting. So, what advice would you give an up and coming new marketer as they're trying to enter into the market and competing against AI?
Yeah, for sure. So I would say, really what we've recommended and seen to you guys is to, really take this crawl, walk, run approach and not just load into kind of the new next best thing that's out there. Because, with AI now, there's so many companies that are popping up left and right, and it's easy to be able to hop on a fad. But at the end of the day, for marketers, I think what works is focusing, testing, seeing ROI like you did with your AI, LinkedIn outreach, and then increasing spend once you kind of identify something that's working. So our recommendation is never to go 100% in on one thing. It's, hey, maybe let's try 10 different ways of going about this and spend some money here, here, and here, and then analyze all of the data coming back and saying, all right, now let's narrow it down to three different, marketing avenues and try that, spend a little bit more money, and then identify one or two and say, all right, now we have a very high percentage chance of having positive ROI on this. Now we can kind of back up the truck and start to put some money into it. So I wouldn't get too obsessed with the next shiny object that's out there and just, again, try to beta test a lot, take in data, identify what works for you and your firm and your company. And then once you have a high visibility into what the ROI is going to be like, then you can start to spend some real money and kind of ramp it up. But that's what we always recommend to folks that we work
Yeah.
with.
Absolutely. Well, that makes a lot of sense. Well, Sam, thank you so much. This has been fascinating and definitely, for me anyway, very interesting. And and I'll relay some of your comments to my wife and go from there. So, thanks for being on here. And for the audience, where can they reach you and reach out to you and your company?
Yeah, of course, Guy. Well, thank you for having us, first and foremost. Yeah, just wealthfeed.com for any financial advisors that are out there. And then we're on LinkedIn and we work directly with all the advisors that we work with on a day-to-day basis. So it's been very rewarding process for us so far. And again, yeah, thank you for having us and excited to read your book coming up here. So thanks again
Yeah.
for hosting.
Thank you. Yeah, please, thanks a bunch. And for the audience, please stay tuned for many other videos in this series of the backstory on marketing and AI. And please visit marketingmachine.prorelevant.com and find out more information about my upcoming book, The AI Marketing Machine. Sam, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thank you, Guy. Have a good day.
Absolutely. Thank you.